Welcome back to the road to Rosslyn Park. I'm Russ McCluskey. He is Phil Greenaway. The sun is shining. And Phil, I was at the Surrey under 14 sevens all day yesterday at Caterham School, and it was magnificent. It was unbelievable, mate. How good is under 14 sevens? The best.
Mate, it sounds magic. It's a lot better than sitting on the M25 in standstill traffic for 2 hours as I made my way to Downside School yesterday. But it was worth the wait because the sun was also shining over at Downside, and great to meet up with Richard Jones and the team across there, mate. But yeah, and the sun's shining again this morning. I've been out with the dog this morning, so I've got a spring in my step, Russ. I'm
Mate, it's
ready to go.
beautiful.
I'm pumped for this pod.
It's beautiful. You put the orb in the sky. It's amazing. Just a quick note on what I saw yesterday. So I was with Cranmore School, helping them out. I was getting around all the schools as well, having a good chat to all those colleagues that I suppose we don't see as much as we used to. But some of the sevens on display. Do you know what's brilliant? Those lads are 13, 14, and they are so well coached. All those schools. They're not just relying on somebody who's, an early developer, something like that, who can just burn it, just got unbelievable wheels from 80 yards out, and they're just trying to get the ball to him. It's going edge to edge. We're seeing that speed of three. We're seeing kick-off receipts as well, people jumping and tipping the kick-off back. We're seeing lads who are clearly playing basketball for their school getting involved in that. And like I say, they were 13, 14 years old, and some of the tries that were scored were immense. Massive shout out to Caterham School for putting on a brilliant day, cracking lunch as well, some kind of Mexican-style pork with rice. I had 2 plates of it. I was totally delighted with that at lunchtime, but I was just the best, and I'm still smiling now from ear to ear after watching it. But we've got a mega guest today, a man that we met in person recently a few months ago in London, and we managed to twist his arm. We said, come on, get on the pod. We'd love to hear all about sevens. But we've got Joe Lydon on the pod. How are you, Joe? You well?
I'm excellent. Easily twisted the arm, particularly if there was a luncheon involved, but obviously I missed out that one yesterday. So great to see you both.
Yeah, brilliant to see you as well. And just your CV, we always start off just by framing it with our guests. Your rugby CV, obviously you spent time at Widnes and Wigan, and you played the other code of the game. And I'm from Derbyshire, so I know a little bit about rugby league, whereas I'm not sure. I bet Phil would have been a decent player. But you started your playing career and your coaching career in rugby league. But then, as we were just saying before we hit record, you came over to the RFU and you found yourself coaching England Sevens.
Yeah, my start of the game really was league and union. The part of the world I'm from, being born and bred in Wigan, we as youngsters played union on Saturday and league on Sunday, and cricket in between and everything else. So it was a baptism of sport. There wasn't much choice. You played league and you played union and enjoyed them both. But in the late 2000s, after my playing career and having worked for the Rugby Football League, I joined the RFU late 1999, early 2000, and started off coaching within what was then the England under-19 squad. Moved across into England Sevens. Had three and a half years with England Sevens, maybe a little bit longer, before joining the senior England squad with Clive Woodward, Andy Robinson, and Phil Larder, etc. Just prior to the Rugby Union World Cup in 2003. So yeah, thoroughly enjoyed my time. The transition was a great learning curve to try and flatten, and sevens certainly helped that. It helped me to understand more about rugby, but also more about coaching and about the benefits of playing sevens for rugby of both codes. The short form of the game, which has been now taken on by so many sports to accelerate the development, was probably in its infancy with the RFU then. We made a good fist of it.
You did a great job, and I was lucky enough to be part of the England 19 setup in 97, 98, and we had Brian Ashton involved with us at that time as well. So great to see the RFU pumping the great coaches into that pathway, and I remember just it being transformational in terms of changing how I thought about the game of rugby from a back's perspective. Tell me, has rugby league ever had a shorter format of the game? I mean, I remember seeing
Yeah,
rugby
yeah,
teams.
they've played the sevens. I remember actually, I got married on the day that the Wigan Sevens festival took place one year. So I didn't participate in that one, but played sevens for Wigan. There was international sevens as well. There was a great tournament that was held in Australia. So yes, but not as noticeable as that within rugby union.
And in terms of that development piece, like we spoke to Jason Robinson. We were very lucky to get a bit of time with him last year at Rosslyn Park Sevens, and hopefully he's going to show again this year at Rosslyn Park Sevens. And we spoke to him about how much anybody in the world would have loved to have seen Jason play in the Rosslyn Park Sevens for his school. There's got to have been a whole host of rugby league players, rugby league stars, who would have just been unbelievable at the shortened version of the game. They would have been able to make that transition over, wouldn't they, from league to rugby union sevens very, very easily because of their core skill set, because of their athletic development.
Yeah, without a doubt. I think they stand out in both codes. You may remember, so we went out to Twickenham for the Middlesex Sevens with the Wigan squad. We actually won it. We played Wasps in the final. Jason was in that squad. Phenomenal athlete. I mean, we had some great rugby union players that had joined league. The likes of Scott Quinnell, not the greatest sevens player ever, but what an athlete. Vaiga Twigamala, Inga was outstanding. And then we had Henry Paul and Jason Robinson, who both went on to play rugby union then for England and for the Lions in Jason's case. So great athletes in a fantastic occasion. I mean, the Middlesex Sevens, as was then, and you'll both remember, was absolutely banging as far as crowd participation, the huge stadium full of fans enjoying themselves. And we went there a little bit in awe of what was expected, but also we went there full of confidence that we had a team full of athletes that could compete with anybody. And they learned as they went through. They learned in the jersey that day and went on to win the tournament in what was a great final against Wasps, having gone down a couple of tries and then stormed back and won it. So fond memories. But back to your point, players within the game, both codes. There are those that stand out as athletes and can benefit sevens, but there are so many others that come through and, having learned from sevens, become great sevens players. And I'm sure we'll talk about many of those as well. But I think that is the bonus of sevens rugby. It's an accelerated pathway for the development of playing the game of 15s or 13s, because it's rugby under a magnifying glass. You take away time and numbers, but you intensify everything else, the amount of space to both preserve and to attack, the speed of the game, the concentration and the detail needed in the ruck area, etc., to retain ball or steal ball. So all the skills, I think, are heightened within the game and therefore transferable into the 15s or 13s game.
And we had Mike Friday on the pod a number of weeks back, and he just talked about like you said, the spotlight and the magnifying glass on your core skills. You've got to be able to catch pass. You've got to be able to ruck. You've got to be able to tackle. And like you said, it forms under that microscope. But what I think I like about the game of sevens is that anyone can play it. You don't need a 15-man squad. If you're a state school, you can just grab 10 kids together and enter a sevens competition and get kids playing rugby.
Yeah, and get kids improving their rugby as well and enjoying it. It helps if it's played with a little bit of sun on your back as well. You mentioned yesterday, springing your step, watching it. But seeing kids that get young athletes, young student athletes, getting into the game in various positions, may never have played it before, but the ability to craft a team together and start to develop that performance in a 7-man team, a 12-man squad, and girls as well now, just making sure that you provide opportunity, because we all know the more opportunities you get, the better you get. That to be able to learn in the jersey, to be able to learn on the pitch, and the good coaching you mentioned, that obviously helps across everything. But getting the opportunity to get ball in hand more often, rather than stood out. Forgive me for those who are entrenched in the 15-a-side game, but a lot of young athletes, female and male athletes, who just stand there and don't get enough ball, enough passes, enough contact time. But get into sevens then and realize that they have got the ability and they've got a great vehicle by which to learn. So you mentioned Mike as well, Mike Friday. I mean, one of the best coaches that I've ever had the pleasure to work with in sevens. As a player at the end of his sevens career then, really, and his rugby career in 15s, but came into England sevens as a coach and really took it forward. Flattened the learning curve for me as well, himself and some of the players who also became coaches on the field. And I think that's a really important point, that young players have the time and the space to accelerate their game, but also start to become coaches themselves. They start to develop their understanding of the game better, that preserving of space and attacking space. And Mike was an exceptional coach in that. And we'll talk about it, I'm sure, in early 2000, 2003, for his involvement in the Hong Kong Sevens, and then winning it again in 2006, I think it was. So, yeah.
And in terms of that, then you've just spoken about that in Hong Kong and some of the tournaments, and I suppose I love hearing about what you mentioned about Middlesex Sevens there, and I've got some great memories of watching it on TV on grandstand and stuff like that. But what are we doing wrong that these things don't exist anymore? If you told me now we're going to go to Twickenham, we're going to get the best rugby league teams together with the best rugby union teams, on our island, and maybe, I don't know, even invite some of the best French teams as well into it, and Italians, like what a tournament that would be in terms of sevens. Like we're missing a trick, aren't we? And I know I'm naive enough to say, the commercial aspect of it, and there's loads of people way higher up the food chain than I am making these decisions. But you just spoke so warmly about that final, about Wigan doing what everybody thought was the unthinkable, about them like learning game to game and actually winning a competition like that game against Wasps. I think that was Delalio playing for Wasps, wasn't it? And it was that cohort, like
That's
serious outfit. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because my mind went back. I mean, I was still involved in rugby league as a player the latter part of my career when the World Cup Sevens was on in Scotland, and Delalio played, Dawson played, Robber played. They won that tournament, and that was my first real introduction to seeing rugby union sevens, and then Middlesex and Hong Kong. So all of late 70s through to probably the turn of the millennia, dominated by Fiji playing great rugby sevens in Hong Kong, New Zealand, etc. Dominated, and then the competition. So what have we done wrong? We kind of lost it. But I think rugby union was ahead of its time. It had great tournaments at Twickenham, both on the World Series and the Middlesex Sevens we've talked about. As did Hong Kong, as did Wellington. If you remember, the Cake Tin in Wellington was a great venue, massive party for spectators, and a great venue to play at and coach at. Those kind of venues almost became their worst enemy. The party atmosphere was a little bit too much at times. Young people enjoying themselves, which nothing a problem. But if you look at other short forms of the game now, or other sporting events, and I include the darts in that, it's about what the fans want. The entertainment, the short forms of the game in cricket, in T20, etc. It's about changing that. And we were probably, say, rugby union was probably ahead of its time. It had great tournaments, but there was always a little bit of doubt whether the health and safety and the amount of alcohol and the areas around the stadium, and it stopped. So Hong Kong changed. Hong Kong moved venues. Wellington moved, so they stopped playing the tournament, and Twickenham also did the same. I mean, it was a massive party at Twickenham, and the quality of rugby on the field was matched by the entertainment in the stands, the fun and the enjoyment that was had. But that kind of changed over a period of time, and it's never been achieved since. I don't think things have changed commercially, things have changed socially, and it's just been a little bit difficult to get it back in through World Rugby's eyes. And I know I'm jumping ahead now, but you talk about enthusiasm and being enthused by a sport. You go fast forward to the Olympics in 2024, 550,000 across 6 days of sevens rugby, 68,000 a day to watch sevens rugby. And it wasn't the only reason. It wasn't just sevens rugby. It was obviously the Olympics, but that I think gave us an insight not only into what the sport can be on the pitch, but how well it can be supported if it was done right.
Fascinating, isn't it? I think when you think about that sevens eco-structure and what it looks like, and I think the schools game have got it going well with the sort of combination of Rosslyn Park. I think the university sector is starting to get itself together in terms of, the Celestial Sevens and other bits. Been lucky enough to be down at the Bournemouth Sevens, which is still a great tournament, and loads of people, and the quality of rugby on show gets better every year. Joe, so for you, sevens as a pathway, as a career for young players now, is that going to be something we see a return towards, or do you think sevens is now just got to bide its time before it can find its day in the sun again in terms of?
No, I think it's got to be. I think we need a proper strategy. They've changed the World Sevens Series now, where rugby have changed it. They've obviously looked at the costs that are associated to it. But again, trying to combine both, I still think it's there as a pathway. I think the schools, you talk about Rosslyn Park, but any schools competition where they can enjoy sevens rugby and learn the game, then it's great. And therefore, it should be an integral part of the pathway. I look at the amount of players in academies playing 15s rugby, and whilst there are some excellent academies and there are some excellent pathways that are developed, there's a fundamental problem where you have, say, 20 athletes competing for 2 places, 3 places to get into the senior 15s team. And therefore, they don't play enough themselves, both in the academies, but also there are limited opportunities. So your teammate becomes your enemy. You're competing against him to get a 15 spot. Whereas sevens, because of the reduced numbers, the short format of the game, and the ability to play multiple games on the same day, across the weekend. Hopefully, as I say, in the sunshine, it's not always the best to play in the rain when it's for kids playing the game, but the things that it has got is that opportunity to fail and to try again, to be part of a team that's a smaller team. One of my fondest memories within coaching sevens was the ability to go away with a squad of 12 players, 3 or 4 staff, for 2 weeks and be within 8 hotel bedrooms across those 2 weeks to make sure that you knew where everybody was, you had an influence on them and they on you, and you could develop your skills as a coach and as management, but also let them enjoy themselves and celebrate what they were good at. And that's fantastic. I think that's the bit that we're missing. We're missing providing more opportunities for young athletes to get into an environment where they can learn, they can fail safely, and then they can go on and grow. And I would love it to see it where sevens or short forms of the game were used more as the incubation or the opportunity for people to get themselves into professional contracts.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And it should be a pathway, shouldn't it? It should be very much a recognised pathway. And that leads me on to a question I'm desperate to ask you. So, hypothetically, now, obviously, Joe, we've got Rosslyn Park Sevens coming up in literally a matter of weeks. We know we're going to see you there. Fingers crossed. Are we going to see you
Yeah,
there?
I'll
Think
be
you're going to
there.
get down? Which is going to be mega, and we'll catch up there, I'm sure, no doubt. But imagine you've got your England Sevens coaching hat on again, and you're looking around the pitches, RE1, RE2, all those pitches. You're looking at those 17, 18-year-old athletes on display. What are you looking for with your coach's hat on for making that transition to the highest level of the sevens game? What player profile have you got in mind?
I think there's the obvious that comes to mind when you're watching talent, which is speed, agility, vision. But then as you dig deeper into it, it's attitude. It's those kids that have got the ability to go and then go again, to have a failing or a missed opportunity or a missed tackle, but then get up and go again. And also the ability for them to be part of a team. In any sport, any team sport, that ability to connect on the field and to make sure that you both encourage and are encouraged by your teammates is massive. So I think attitude is always one that you would look at in any team sport, how those people interact on the field, and then bring on other players in their team to help them as well. So yeah, I just think that all short forms of the game allow that. You look at cricket again, we talked about briefly, and I know we talked about it last time we met, the type of skills that have been developed, which are above the norm now because of the way that the short form's going, and I think that's exactly the same in rugby sevens. You know, the quality of the pass, which coaches, Mike Friday included, hammered with the likes of Kenya to make sure that their pass quality and the USA, their pass quality was first class. So you can move end to end, side to side. You know, your passing quality is good, but all those technical skills are then honed within sevens because you've got more opportunity to do it, both in training and in playing. So you can test it under pressure. And you can go back and test it again, and then you can do it again three hours later and play another game, etc. So, we're waxing lyrical now, but it is really an enthusiasm for a game which develops people quickly.
No, this is the Joe. This is the pod for it. We want to wax lyrical about sevens. We want to bang the drum. It's brilliant.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And like you said, the thing I love about sevens, and particularly for kids and who are playing the game, is that if they play 5 games in a day, they've got an opportunity to learn again and again and again and again. And with the coach's influence on, right, listen, what did we do really well last game? What do we need to do a bit better this game? And you see people grow throughout the day, don't you, stature-wise? You see them grow in confidence. You see them get better at certain skills. You see them, not make the mistake in the second game that they made defensively in the first game about biting in or, whatever it might be. I'm interested in the attitude piece because you can measure speed, you can measure agility. How do you measure attitude? What is it you're looking for in terms of those things?
I think the magic in sevens rugby, in most competitions, festivals in particular, is the magic in the middle. It's the between the games. Um, it's understanding that the learning happens in the game, but the thought process and the preparation for the next game is in that middle bit. So again, we talked about the sunshine, having the ability to play a game, to reflect instantly and to learn from that game with your playing. So the coach's job really is just to facilitate the fact that they can learn in the sport. They can learn with their teammates, and then they can go and try again to improve what they did last time, correct what they did in some cases, not be overcoached, but to just go and keep experimenting. And if you can play 3 games in a day of sevens rugby, um, or 6 games, 5 games over a weekend, and over that short period of time have the chance to improve, occasionally fail, get some resilience into you, be encouraged by not only your coaches, but your fellow player, athletes, students, then that's perfection. That you can't, you can put into a weekend, or a midweek tournament festival in particular. If the gaps are right in the middle of those games, you can put in place more learning than you could probably put in a full season.
I totally agree. And actually, if you're a teacher looking at it, looking at a sevens tournament and listening to this right now, I look at yesterday. How many games did we play yesterday? We played 6 games yesterday, so knocked out in a quarterfinal, fine. But actually, like you say, if you look at those in between bits as almost like a lesson, when do you get that opportunity during a school day? You see the kids for maybe 30 minutes, 45 minutes. Maybe if you're lucky, an hour and a half games lesson, 2-hour games lesson, but then you might not see him again for another week. That's it, and 7 days is a long time. So I totally, totally agree with that. Big time, Joe. Now, Joe, we obviously met in London, which was amazing, like I say, a few months ago. Do you wanna just have a bit of a plug for a project you're involved in? Because I just think it sits beautifully and brilliantly with, everything we're doing. We're shining light on all sevens, but obviously with a big, big focus to Rosslyn Park. But you're involved with Apex, aren't you?
Apex Rugby, Apex Rugby Sevens, on the back of what was Apex Cricket, which is a great foundations. Again, having a festival by which international teams based in the UK can come across, and play competition, but having that festival atmosphere, the ability, as we just talked about, to learn to express yourself and to interact with both your own teammates and the opposition. So Apex Rugby will be the first Rugby Sevens tournament under Apex Festival will be in August 2027. So a decent runway to get things right, allowing schools the time to prepare and hopefully be with us in that festival in August at Millfield School. We are really looking forward to it. The interest has been fascinating to start off with. Obviously, there's a lot of schools that are attached to schedules which they need to consider whether they can do both or in that summer period. But the key for us is doing it with a little bit of sunshine on your back, having a festival which allows those gaps we talked about in the middle of competition, and it not just only be on the field. It's about the learning and the opportunities that come on the back of it as well. So, trying to provide other learning opportunities within that environment, interactive, talking about attitude, talking about development, looking ahead to careers and what it brings, and making sure that rugby or the sport of rugby for the girls and the boys is something that's integral to their development, not just as athletes, but as people and hopefully for careers in the future.
And you mentioned the girls again there. That girls piece is massive, isn't it now? The growth of women's sport in general, and it's been great to see the success of the England Roses and how that's all gone. But the growth of women's sport and then in particular rugby within that. Some of the rugby that there's played by the women now is just phenomenal, isn't it?
It is. Again, all sports, it's an opportunity. This Sevens provides that in spades. I've been lucky enough to be involved with the GB Sevens program, the female and male Olympics. For the women, they got to the Olympic Games in Paris, and to watch that squad grow and learn in the jersey was superb. The Red Roses you mentioned with the World Cup, etc., phenomenal leaps forward for the game. But I think that there is a real opportunity within what hopefully we're providing as well with Apex is to take the ability to bring them together as a squad and let them interact and learn within the game, but also off the pitch as well. That attitude we talked about, those gaps, the special learning opportunities within the middle of the games or in between the games, I should say, provides a great environment for it.
And we saw it yesterday, actually, at Surrey, and we've seen some clips going around on social media from last year's Celestial Sevens and Rosslyn Park Sevens. You talk about that attitude, it's always that clip, isn't it? The little highlight clip of somebody running back and making that cover tackle. That kind of effort, zero skill, zero talent, but maximum effort moment that we see, and we love to see it, don't we, in sevens all the time? And
And we
like,
should celebrate it more, yeah. Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
My mind goes back to watching a game way back and end to end, literally 3 times, saved a try, back, saved a try, back, saved a try, back, and then scored. And it was end to end, but both teams almost celebrated and clapped each other because it was just huge effort. And that was at schoolboy level, but they just never gave up.
You must have
Like,
seen some sorry, Phil, you must have seen some disgusting fitness sessions in your time, Joe. Anything for any of the teachers that you'd be like, "Yeah, your kids must be doing this fitness session right now"?
no, really. Again, it comes back to what we talked about, attitude. It's a great place to learn. One of the things that I always love about rugby sevens, and you see it at Rosslyn Park. Hopefully, we'll see it at the Apex festivals. You see it whatever the level is, and it's those conversations that happen afterwards, where the players themselves become coaches. They become encouragers. They become influencers, which is the modern word now. But just to help each other. To get through not only what's to celebrate what's been good, but also to get through the tough bits as well. Because let's be honest, rugby, on the pitch, sevens or 15s, 13s is a tough place to be at times. It is a physical game, it demands great attitude and great commitment. But to be able to celebrate that, but also to learn together is the real special bit. That's the magic in the middle, I think, for sport, that instills in people what is important about being with somebody else to make something happen with your teammate, in the game, and then to learn together after the game for the next game is just magic.
Yeah, and we mentioned that work rate piece. I mean, there's only one person who can carry the ball, isn't there, in a game of sevens, or a game of 15s, which means that in a game of 15s, there's 9 other people who are still having to influence the game, but it's usually through work rate and it's usually through discipline. In a game of sevens, there's only one person who can score a try, but somebody's got to work their absolute socks off to get to the ruck, to clear it. And it's those moments that I think that we, as you mentioned, that need celebrating a bit more. So we always celebrate the try scorer, the guys running, the Dan Nortons of this world who run in under the posts and score. But actually, somebody's worked really hard to clear a ruck previously. Somebody's worked really hard on the floor to get long, to be able to present, and then somebody else has worked really hard to shift that ball away. And it's those moments which are really, really important. And I used to talk about all the time and celebrate that the work you do when you haven't got the ball is probably the most important and
Yeah,
probably the hardest work to do.
and I think we should, you can look at people across the sport in 15s. I'm trying to think of one now that I've said it, but Quagga Smith, great example. So, played sevens, was exceptional at stopping people rather than scoring, but made that an art in itself. And now has had probably a decade within the South African Springbok squad, sometimes as a very impactful substitute, but what a great player. And I'm sure he would say, I've never asked him, but I'm sure he would say that a lot of what his game has developed from was sevens. And he has a massive impact. And I would like to bet that if you talk to his teammates, they'll say that the work that he puts in when he gets on the field, whether he's starting or whether he's substitute, his commitment to stopping the opposition and to securing ball for his own side is phenomenal. And I'd bet you that came from part of that came from not only himself and his attitude, but was forged in rugby seven.
Brilliant example. Most sides would bite your arm off, wouldn't they, for a Quagga Smith in
Oh,
their
yeah.
sevens team? Oh my god,
Yeah.
wouldn't they just?
Yeah,
Wouldn't they just?
absolutely. And there's loads of them. There's loads of them in the girls' game as well. That those people who are willing to tough it out to make the team better.
Joe, you've been amazing. We really, really appreciate your time today. And it's been awesome meeting you in person, like I say, a couple of months ago, and we had another call recently. Can't wait to see you for a coffee and a catch up and a wander around Rosslyn Park too. So, definitely come and say hello to us. But it's been brilliant to get your insight. You've coached at the highest level, you've played at the highest level as well. And I think anybody listening to this, there's some brilliant takeaways to implement in their school team, whether they're playing in the under-11 competition or the senior competition on the Thursday and the Friday at Rosslyn Park. There'll be some absolute golden nuggets there for them. So thank you very much, Joe.
Thank you. Look forward to seeing you soon.
Thanks so much, Joe. And I think my takeaway from all of this today is just, and it keeps coming back as a theme, doesn't it, Russ? Keep it simple. Do the simple things really well. Don't overcomplicate things and don't overcoach. But brilliant Joe, thanks very much for your time. Russ, see you again soon, probably on a call somewhere later this evening. We've been Little and Large. This is the Road to Rosslyn Park. Joe Lydon, absolute hero of a man. Take care. See you next time.